Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is going to be my team builder for the finals of UBL Season 2. We are going up against Uzi Gunner, coach of the Bullet Punch Club. Make sure you go check him out. His link's down in the description below. Now, we did face off versus Uzi's team back in Week 9 of the UBL, but he was actually being coached by TTM Jolt at that time. Uzi, I think he was busy with university and some other stuff at that time. So Jolt subbed in and gave us a really good match, gave us a run for our money. Brought some really clutch sets such as Sub Bleach Seed Whimsicott and Toxic Protect Alakazam that nearly did us in, but we were able to eke out a 2-0 victory. But now Uzi's coming back to the coach's chair, and he's also going to give us a really tough time in this battle. Let's go over his team, and then I'll show you guys what I have elected to bring versus Uzi in this championship rematch. He has Crobat, Alakazam, Whimsicott, Raikou, Infernape, Zoroark, Kyurem Black, Alomomola, Tangela, Mega Aggron, and Rhydon. So, Uzi's team is pretty offensive, as you can imagine. He has a lot of Volt Turn action on his team, with Crobat, Whimsicott, Raikou, Infernape, and Zoroark. So I could definitely see him trying to want to play a momentum game. My team really does better when I have the offensive momentum, so if he can take that away from me and force me to pivot, he's going to be at a tremendous advantage. And so that's going to play into my team building a little bit here. He has a lot of just mons that are so good versus the majority of my team. Kyurem, of course, is such a matchup nightmare because it just does so well versus balanced and defensive teams. Luckily, my team isn't really oriented that way, and my team of 6 in particular, I think, should be fine versus that. But if it's like a Scarf Kyurem, then that kind of also destroys offense. So it's a tricky situation with Kyurem. You never know which Kyurem you're gonna get, so it's hard to build around. Luckily, Heatran is one of the best checks to Kyurem, so if I can keep Heatran healthy, that should be very good. But Heatran is heavily pressured by pretty much this entire team, including Crobat, which is such a big threat because its Flying Stab is virtually unresisted besides Heatran on my whole team. Alakazam is going to be pressuring Heatran quite a bit, although the Crossbow can probably pivot in on that if it needs. Probably the biggest biggest overall threat is Infernape. Jolt brought the set that I expected on Infernape in our Week 9 matchup, which was a setup Infernape with Swords Dance. Nasty Plot is equally viable, which kind of makes this a prep nightmare for me, because I do have Quagsire, which has the Unaware ability to avoid any potential boosts, but if I want to go fully Fizz Def to deal with a physical variant, he could very easily just run Nasty Plot Vacuum Wave for the majority of my team, and then Focus Blast to a physically defensive Quagsire just does so much damage. It does 75% damage, especially if he's Life Orb. So Infernape is extremely hard to prep for. Aggron's very hard to prep for. Aggron has been a favorite of Uzi's all season. He really likes Rock Polish on his Aggron. And as you can see, my steel resists are not very good. I have Heatran and Quagsire on my squad for dealing with steel types. Both of those are already immensely pressured by other Pokemon, so we're going to have to play very carefully with that. And his Regenerator Core is actually pretty spooky. I'm not bringing a ton of wall breaking. I guess I'm bringing a little bit of wall breaking. I'm bringing Diggersby, and we'll go into that set when we get there. But he could potentially stall me out with those 2 mons. If I'm not careful. So I've put some special techs on for his Regenerator Core, and we'll see if that ends up paying off. But without further ado, let's just hop into the squad. So I am rocking a Rocky Helmet Quagsire, no pun intended, with a pretty specially defensive looking spread. I just wanted to make myself as mixed defensive as possible to help deal with both sets of Infernape. I still get bopped by fighting moves from Infernape with the spread. Close Combat and Focus Blast both do 50% minimum to Quagsire. I am really hoping, of course, that he is the physical variant, because Focus Blast is not going to take Rocky Helmet recoil like Close Combat will. But being specially defensive helps me deal with some other mons a little bit as well, such as Raikou, maybe Zoroark if we really need, Scarf Kyurem. Kyurem actually it was taken into account when I built this set. I put a lot of attack investment in because I didn't want like a max HP sub Kyurem to be able to take advantage of Quagsire. So the 116 EVs in attack allows us to allows us to break a sub 100% of the time on max HP Kyurem. Waterfall and Ice Punch were my coverage moves of choice. Yeah, this is just going to be a good way for me to chip down his team, especially Infernape. Like, if I can get Infernape to go for physical type attacks versus me, especially if it's like Flare Blitz or something, he'll just take a ton of recoil from Rocky Helmet, Flare Blitz, maybe Life Orb if he chooses to run it. We'll have to see. Next up, we have a Shukaberry Heatran. I have the exact same moveset on this Heatran that I had the first time. Heatran this season has been a tough mon for me just because it's kind of my only defensive Pokemon, so it's been forced to serve the same role almost every single week. I really regret that in the top of the draft I was not able to get something like regular Scizor to go with Heatran. Just because that would have removed a lot of the pressure from dealing with grass types, fairy types, things like that. Scizor doesn't really deal well with the flying types like Heatran does, but it just would have been quite a bit better. But anyway, we do have Shukaberry, which will allow us to deal with things like Aggron, Rhydon, Kyurem Black with Earth Power, things like that. We have a Modest Nature with 92 special attack EVs that allows us to two-shot a max HP Raikou. I know it's kind of like a weird benchmark, but that's what we went with. And then we have enough speed on this thing to outspeed a Jolly Aggron. I think I mentioned that Uzi does like Rock Polish Aggron quite a bit, so it seemed worth it to put some speed investment onto this thing to outspeed that. So yeah, that's the Heatran set, just really pressured this week, but hopefully I can lure something going for a ground type move and then take it out with an appropriate coverage move. Next we have a kind of bulky Scarf Necrozma. Not super bulky, mind you, but almost max HP investment with Photon Geyser, Earth Power, Signal Beam, and Stealth Rock. So I went with Rocks on this thing instead of my Heatran, just because, like I said, I want Heatran to have that coverage so I can be a lure for the different mons on his team. And because I'm sort of pressured to go for those moves, I'm not really going to find myself clicking Rocks on Heatran ever. I'm going to always want to be going for an attacking move. And so as weird as it sounds, it seems slightly more likely that I'll go for Rocks with Necrozma than I would go for Rocks on Heatran. The reason that I wanted to Scarf this is because it gives me something to outspeed a setup Infernape that resists Mach Punch. That's what I did in the first match. I had Scarf Togekiss, which could outspeed and one-shot with Air Slash. Here I have Necrozma, which can obviously one-shot with Photon Geyser. I think we might even be able to one-shot with Earth Power. I'm not 100% positive. I think that's what I EV'd this for. I don't recall exactly. But anyway, yeah, Necrozma in general, I think it's just a little bit of annoying for him. His Psychic Resists aren't actually that good. He has Aggron, obviously, and Zoroark to resist. And then Alakazam is there as his other Psychic Resist, which is not a very good one. So if we can whittle his team, Scarf Photon Geyser can finish him off. We'll have to see. But yeah, basically this is just Assurance for Infernape. It's bulky enough to switch in on something once, and then we can fire off some powerful hits in return. The speed investment allows us to outspeed Zam, but we do not outspeed Crobat. The reason being is that I didn't think he would have a reason to run a max speed Jolly Crobat. Either he'll run defensive like Jolt did with Rocky Helmet, or I think Scarf is pretty likely to try and outspeed and revenge kill Lopunny. With that said, kind of along those lines, we'll go into our Lopunny set. We have enough speed investment on this thing just for Whimsicott, if I'm not mistaken. We didn't put any additional investment in on this for dealing with Alakazam, because Alakazam should be able to die pretty easily to a quick attack anyway. And that's assuming that he's even running max speed. He should just run enough for Sneasel, but we'll have to see how he does. I really wanted to run Power Up Punch on this, but I thought Healing Wish was more important, so that way I could heal up one of my defensive mons, because, like I've been saying over and over, they're so pressured this week. I'm hoping that I can, be on the front foot, keep him on the back foot with all my offensive pressure, and there's a good chance that that can happen, but it would have been a little bit nicer to do that with Power Up Punch. But anyway, Return plus High Jump Kick just is basically totally free versus him besides Crobat, and that's it. Maybe Aggron is bulky enough to take a High Jump Kick for sure, but Yeah, I thought that plus quick attack would be good enough. Quick attack I thought was really important for dealing with Mach Punch and Fernape, which is almost 100% coming. It came the last time, and it'll definitely come this time. So yeah, even though we don't have that ability to get the +1, hopefully Lopunny applies enough pressure anyway. It can either clean up late game, or it can apply early and mid game pressure. If it does that part where it applies the early and mid game pressure, I think that this Breloom is going to end up being my win con. This is not actually my EV spread. Sorry, my EV spread is this. But reason I was thinking really hard about doing this EV spread actually. And the reason is that this max HP obviously is good for finding extra setup opportunities, but then the 76 EVs with an adamant nature does allow me to knock out Kyurem from full if I'm at +2, as you can see here. Yes, I was just doing some calcs over here. But I decided that I wanted a little bit of extra investment here because with a +2, now I can go up versus Aggron. If it's like a max HP set, as you can see here, if he's like 252, and then I can go for Superpower. Superpower does 88.7% min, so that's enough to kill after 1 round of spikes, which I do have on my Diggersby, which I'll go into in just a minute. So yeah, I ended up going with 204, and yeah, it just, you know, I think having the bulk would have been nice, but that Aggron is just spooky to me. We do have enough speed to outspeed Jolly Aggron. As I mentioned, I'm a little bit afraid of that. Lumberry is the item of choice, just so that way I can use this thing to deal with Alomomola, because I don't really have a way to switch in on Alomomola otherwise on my team, which is really spooky. But yeah, I can switch it in. If he wants to try and go for Scald Spam, that's fine. I have the Lumberry. And if I do get burned somehow, I do have the Healing Wish on the Lopunny to bring my Breloom back. So I think I can play recklessly with this early game if I want to. It sort of depends on if he has Crobat or not. Like Crobat, I think is almost guaranteed to come. Like if it's weakened, then I can use Breloom a little bit more recklessly. But as long as he has that quad resist to Mach Punch in the back, Breloom isn't really going to be able to do a ton of work. But anyway, my last Bond is this Diggersby, which has a Choice Band, Spikes Return, Quick Attack, and Earthquake. So I almost ran SD on this as well, but I decided to go with Spikes instead. I almost did Spikes SD with just Quick Attack and Earthquake. But because so much of my team hinges on Crobat getting weakened, I thought it'd be better to have Return for Crobat if I need. And if I want, I have like the Choice Banded Quick Attack, which is, you know, more powerful than a Silk Scarf Quick Attack, of course. But yeah, Spikes is just going to be nice for the Regenerator Core, like I mentioned, but also just things like Infernape that are going to be so annoying to me because like he can come in and like just get tons of damage off, but like if he is like taking damage every time from Spikes, or if he's taking damage from Rocky Helmet, his longevity is going to be severely reduced. So it seemed very valuable for me to have the Spikes on this set. And yeah, like even without the option to go for SD, like in the late game, Quick Attack can potentially finish him off. So we're going to hope that we can line up the situation where either Lopunny, Breloom, or Diggersby can close out the game with a priority, and that's going to be supported by the Spikes on Diggersby. Hopefully I can get up Rocks on with my Necrozma as well. Hopefully Quagsire can do a lot of damage with Rocky Helmet throughout the match. Just get everything whittled to the point where priority can win out. I don't need anything more than 1 Bond left to try and win this game, so that's what we're going to try and make happen. And regardless of how the battle turns out, I think it's going to be very exciting. So if you are looking forward to this battle, would appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video and left a sub, so that way you can catch this battle. I'm not sure when this battle's going up, but it'll probably be like 12 to 24 hours after this upload goes up for this team builder. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you check out my buddy Uzi for his side of the battle, of course. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I will see you all later.